Alright, so today we're going to go over how to fillet an edge. So I'm just going to zoom in on perspective view here. And we're just going to go over kind of what a fillet edge is. So as you can see here, we have a surface on the top of the guitar, a surface on the side of the guitar. We have a sharp 90-degree angle here. So basically what a fillet is going to do is it's going to allow us to create a nice smooth surface between these two surfaces here. So before we get started, there's going to be some problem areas that we're going to encounter. I'm just going to zoom in on the bottom here. So this is a very sharp angle of the guitar, and one thing that's important to keep in mind when we're filleting the edge is that we can only fillet an edge that has less of a curve than this 90-degree angle here. So we're going to have to make our fillet very small when we get to this section. In contrast, sections like this have a nice sloping curve, so those won't be a problem. Just zoom out here. And for the top section, I'm just going to quickly Boolean split this out so we don't have to worry about these 90-degree angles here. So before I do that, there's a whole video series on how to Boolean split. Those will be in the next lesson, so I'm just going to do this really quickly without explaining the process. Alright, so as you can see now we have a perfect neck pocket for our neck to sit in. And now we can get on with the fillet edge. So this is a solid and not just a surface. That means it's not hollow inside. So I'm going to go to the solid tool. Fillet edge is here. We have fillet edge, which gives us that rounded edge. A chamfer gives us a straight cut edge. If you ever can't find something, again, you can go into help, type in fillet, go through until you find it right there. It's also on the sidebar over here if you want to look through that. You can hold it down, fillet surface, go down until you find fillet edge. I generally like using the one up here, though I find it the easiest to navigate. Alright, so one thing that's important when we're doing our fillet edge is our radius right here. So this is the measurement in millimeters of how many millimeters it takes to complete that fillet edge. And through trial and error, I found out that 10 millimeters is about the right size for a Telecaster, so we're going to go ahead and use that. And now, I'm just going to select done. Oh, and there again, fillet edge. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to select all of the curves that we want to complete the fillet on. So if you're ever going through and you select something you don't want, like this here, you can just hold the command down and select it again. It'll deselect that. So it's very important that you get every section of the guitar. So I'm just going to go around, make sure I have all of the corners that I want to fillet selected. So I believe I do. Select done, and it'll bring up another drop-down menu. So this gives us some more tools like adding handles that we're going to use on the bottom, previewing it. Trimming and joining is very important. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And it has the rail type, so that's the fillet type that we're completing. So there's a couple different options here for the fillet we're going to complete. So as I change it, we get some different options. But you see when I go to a rolling ball, we get an error in our fillet here. So it's trying to fillet an edge that is no longer there. So we're just going to keep it in distance between rails because it makes this the end point of that fillet. So I'm going to go ahead. Quickly I'm going to talk about trimming and joining. Just going to zoom in a bit here. So when we select trim and join, that is going to tell RHINO that once we complete this fillet edge, we no longer want this section of the extrusion up here. So make sure trim and join is selected. Hit done. And now we have nice filleted edge all the way around. I'm just gonna go around, make sure there were no airs in it. So I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna flip around to the bottom half of the guitar here. So this one's a little more complex on the bottom because we do have to work with this sharp 90-degree turn here. So it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of trial and error to kind of get this where we want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out there. So it's going to be the same process up until kind of the very end. So fillet edge, go around and select all of the edges here. So I'm going to have to zoom in on this section here. Because I can see that there are a couple surfaces, so I do this and we're left with 1, 2 surfaces still. Make sure I select that there. And I'm going to keep the same fillet of 10 millimeters, so I'm going to select done. I'm going to zoom in on this section here. And you can see that there's a lot of airs in this section here. The fillet is kind of folding over, and it's because we're trying to create a fillet that is a sharper angle than this corner here. So we're going to have to do something called adding rails to this fillet. Just going to get my angle just right. Alright, so what adding a rail does, a handle, is allows us to, I'm just going to show you here, to add handles along our curve, and we can change the radius of our fillet edge along those handles. So we can make this curve here a lot smaller than 10 millimeters, and we shouldn't get that error after we do that. I'm going to go through and add our handles. Alright, so now it's important that our last handle stays at 10. If we change this one, the fillet all the way around will change. So I'm going to go to the second last handle, and I'm going to change this from 10. I'm just going to show you what it does. I'm going to try 6 there. So as you can see, our fillet got a lot smaller. It went down to 6 millimeters there. So I'm going to kind of just do that all the way around and try and blend it into the edge, and we're going to have no fillet here when I'm done. So you go through and you kind of select this little snap point on the fillet, and you can do it manually, you see here, or you can just type it in. I think it's a lot better to just type it in. You get a more precise measurement. So I did the last one at 5. I'm going to do this one at 4. And kind of slowly moving down. 2. And this one has to be virtually 0. So I'm going to make it 0.001. Done. And now it starts here, but it slowly starts moving back up until it gets to 10 on this section over here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip around. So this is my next handle. So I'm going to make this 1.001 as well. And now we got rid of that kind of air in between. And this is a very, very, very small fillet all the way around, so we shouldn't get that air anymore. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of blend the rest of these in together. So I'm going to do this one at 5. Six. And 8 here, see how that looks. So I think that looks pretty good. And our final thing, we're going to sand this down a bit when we're actually building a guitar, and there's going to be a plate sitting over here. So I just kind of want to make sure that everything looks right. I think that looks about what we need it to look like. So I'm just going to go ahead and click finish.